Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 421 of the Pixels and Ink podcast, the official podcast of CGMagazine, where we take a critical eye to gaming, comics, tech, and media. I'm your host today, Chris DeHoog, and I'm joined by our editor-in-chief, Brendan Fry,
Hello there, Chris, and everyone else.
Jordan Biordi,
What up, yo?
and returning to the show, Cody Orm.
Hey everyone. Long
Corey
time no
Orm.
see.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah. I'm actually on camera this time.
Weird. I'm confused and scared.
Beautiful face.
Is it
think
because
you
of
have
the
a hitch-
birds poster
I
behind?
was literally going to comment on the birds poster. Literally just going to comment on the birds poster. So good job there.
Thank you. Well,
It's the
Thank
subconscious
Josh.
element of the fear, for sure. I'm scared for some reason. I don't know why.
It's all the birds.
So this week we I don't know. Did you guys see any good trailers today?
I mean, there were a few, I hear.
You know what? I didn't see one. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we should probably
it's
find
all
something to
lies.
talk about. But yeah, I know this week we're talking real subtle.
I knew this thing was going to come in handy one day.
Yeah, no doubt. So this week we're talking about the big gameplay reveals we saw today
Mhm.
from Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16.
Right.
Well, it's tangentially related.
I mean,
Uh,
stretch, but okay. We'll let it go.
the sword's long; it stretches.
Yeah.
It covers the gap.
Okay. That got weird.
Similar play style to that of the remake. So, there's links being made.
Links. There we go.
No.
And I'm out.
I hate this episode already.
I do too. Puns. I hate you all.
But let's start with something that I think we loved. I'm assuming
Mhm.
the Tears of the Kingdom final trailer.
Yeah.
That's out first. Let's talk about that one first.
Well,
It looks really good. I have to say, I'm not a huge, as Cody, and I'm sure everyone else here is the huge Zelda fan, but I'm a little excited to give this one a try, even as a non-Zelda fan. It looks it looks like the limits of what the Switch can do.
That definitely is true. Yeah, rewatching it again, like on the PS5, it's like I don't know if this is how this is gonna run, but fingers crossed they
So-
spent the time to make it work.
I was thinking about this. This has to be the first original Zelda title made specifically for one Nintendo console in a really long time.
In a long time, yes. There's definitely been Zelda, numerous Zelda titles.
Probably be going back to
one console.
Wind Waker, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I was
was
thinking.
Link's crossbow training does not count.
no, it does not.
It's canon.
I think you might be right because all the other
Yeah.
ones have been kind of cross-generational.
What a time to
Yes.
be alive.
I know it's weird.
It's-
I'm confused and scared.
it will be interesting to see absolutely just how tailored this is to the Switch specifically, because with Breath of the Wild you can see like a little bit of stuff that was left over from how it was really supposed to be designed as a Wii U game.
You mean the kind of the dual system type thing that is going on, and the way
A
you
little
kind
bit. I mean, even down to small stuff, like the way that the whole Sheikah slate, it doesn't look like a
It's a
Switch. It
Wii
looks
U
like the
like
gamepad.
controller.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, that.
Yeah. So you could tell there was definitely a little bit more design intention that way. So if they actually take into account maybe some of the limitations you saw with that game, may have come from the fact that they were developing for the Wii U first, which has had a
Mhm.
different architecture altogether.
You mean
That's
much weaker system?
yeah. I was gonna say not like the NVIDIA chip that the Switch has is that much better, but it's still definitely a step up from the Wii U.
Yeah. I think the Wii U was I think you were in office when we got the Wii U in for review, weren't you, Cody?
I don't think the Wii U. I was there for the
Switch, definitely.
Switch. Yeah, I did the unboxing for the Switch and the review.
But yeah, the Wii U when we got it in, we're like, oh wow, now Nintendo console has one that's equal to the PS3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah,
Just
they're
as they're
catching up.
announcing, just as they're announcing the new consoles are coming out soon. Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Not that they've ever needed to
old
be
Nintendo.
cutting edge since
Yeah,
the
no.
stupid era, but they make do.
I still remember when they announced the Wii U. I was at E3, And Nintendo came on stage and like, here's the Wii U. It's for us and you. And like, that's dumb.
Everyone's like, huh?
But even better, after the video presentation ended, a bunch of women came out with the Wii U attached to them via cables.
Dragging it out.
They're so weird.
Attach the Wii U of victory.
So weird.
Nintendo can get so strange.
Yeah, it's probably for the best that they stopped going to E3.
Stop encouraging them.
What was the other one they did? They when there was the Wii, they had that drumming thing.
They had the stupid Wii music thing, and everyone was really poorly playing that dumb thing. Yeah, that was.
I just missed the Reggie quotes.
Yeah, those are the only like genuine moments because
I feel like a purple Pikmin.
You could tell at least like he was having fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. But back to the game at hand.
Yes.
I'm not the biggest Zelda fan. I've played most Zeldas, but I don't think I finished any of them other than Link to the Past.
Really?
So that's where I'm in.
Kind of my vibe too.
I thought for sure you would have gone through Wind Waker at least. Wind Waker was like the one.
Link to the Past I played because I think it was like it just had a great look to it, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, no.
Beyond that, I really just never got into like. They felt too dense to me. I never really like connected to the lore. I understand that it really is really well designed and it brings a lot to the table. I just never got into it. But this one makes me want to revisit the last one on the Switch, Breath of the Wild, and just kind of experience the world that Nintendo's created in this game because it has kind of that duality of having kind of an edge to it, but still looking fun and vibrant and exciting.
Yes. That was one thing that I was like genuinely surprised about when I started replaying. Like I wiped my save and started like from the ground up, having done like everything you could do in Breath of the Wild, safe for getting all the Korok seeds because who has the time for that? But like
I don't know
the
what
full
that means,
game,
but I support you.
Yeah, like the full game and the DLC like done, and then I cleared my save file and started from the very beginning. And like the first thing that genuinely struck me, probably after maybe like not playing it for like maybe 6 months at most a year, and I like was shocked at how like it felt new again. Like it really did. Like playing it a second time, like when you step out into that world, like it genuinely felt like vast, even though I knew that like how like limited the starting area is compared to the rest of the world. Like it still feels like this massive space you get before the whole adventure unfolds. So it really is the kind of game that does have that kind of longevity. Like even just like when I was replaying it recently too, like, you know, there were the things that were getting on my nerves that got on my nerves the first time I played, but like running through and exploring the world again, like you find things that you missed or you forgot about, and like it's just like every little corner that you're turning, there's just like something new there.
Right.
So like it just they packed this world so densely full of things to like that, like it just every time you jump back into it, it really does feel like it's like the first time again. But what was interesting to me was sort of like going over my list. And if you haven't read it, any listeners, it's The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, 10 things we hope to see.
That sounds like an article people should read at CGMagOnline.com.
And I was going over it. I'm so glad we got it out too, because I remember I wrote it and then I was like writing it, and then the second like big trailer hit. I'm like, okay, we need to get this out before they give us like everything, because I'm not gonna have anything to write about.
Okay.
And it actually does look like now it really is kind of making me hopeful, because so like just going through the list, like what is like better storytelling. It looks like they're going there, like from what they showed with all the different characters that you're fighting alongside, and like all the new heroes from the first from Breath of the Wild that kind of seem to be like either joining Link in combat or how you're going to progress a story with him. It looks like there probably is going to be a lot more like narrative fleshed out between just like not only Link but all these characters, and even the stuff they showed with Zelda. Like I'm really hoping Zelda gets more of an active role in this game. RPG elements, probably the jury's still out on that, but I doubt it's going to be in there. They traditional dungeons, from what it looks like too, it looks like they're giving you something close to that. They showed off areas that looked like kind of like they were going to be big functional dungeons.
What worries me about that is there hasn't been anything explicitly shown.
That is true.
True. So those could just very well be like areas within the world, but if they approach anything like this, and I made a point to say this because Cody, you straight up lied to me when you first told me about this game, because I will never forget when I came to the office and you were playing it and you're like, dude, you got to see this, it's so cool, and you showed me the first like divine beast and you were like, oh, it's so awesome. It's like Shadow of the Colossus, and then it turns into a dungeon. And I went into the game like with that in mind. And when the first like divine beast happened, I was like, okay, he was kind of right.
Hey, so here's the thing. I was actually gonna say, if I could go back and change any review I wrote, it would probably be that one. Just the amount of game that had to be covered, and the amount of time that I was given with I had to do that review and the Switch review.
That was tight.
It
was really tight.
It was insane. And like
back to back.
You had like a weekend, or was it like it was like a full
it was
week?
I think I had like from the Thursday to a Tuesday, something weird like that.
It was really tight. Yeah.
But yeah, so I could not explore enough of the game.
But here's the thing: is so like you know, even the first time I played it, like having that sort of like those words in the back of my mind, because like realistically it's true, it's like you weren't wrong, but there was like a little bit being left out, and that was what was disappointing about that, is that the divine beasts, they kind of function like dungeons insofar that they're like bigger versions of the shrine like challenge rooms, but like that was I was really hoping for like a classic Zelda dungeon, you know.
They felt kind of hollow.
Exactly.
And I think a big thing too was just the lack of creativity with the final bosses.
Yeah.
They kind of all blended together in that regard, and they were also really easy.
Yeah. So that was that. So like even if so kind of like what I was saying is that like even if they have areas that maybe are just within the world and they're not like, you know, like Dodongo's Cavern or like you know, like the Great Deku Tree, like genuine areas, but they still like function as these sort of like large labyrinthine spaces that are, for lack of a better word, dungeons. Like that seems kind of like what they were showing off in there, because a lot of those areas that they were showing seemed very complex. So I don't know just how much they will fit into the world itself. But like you said, Cody, like they didn't show off enough, so really it we don't know, but it looks like it's approaching something like that. They didn't show off anything about Zelda, like traditional Zelda items, which is something I put on my list, and I don't think they will bring it back. Like it seems like they have a pretty established like formula that they're working with this. With the same thing goes for an entire overhaul of the weapon system, because the one thing that I hated the most originally, and then even playing it again, was how weapons just shatter like glass.
Well, I think that forge at whatever it is ability is a nice compromise.
Well, and that's what I was. So the thing that I followed up that with was like a sort of a rudimentary crafting system, which kind of looks like that's what they're getting at with the whole like combining like system. However, it needs to go deeper. I still need to see if you could like take like a stick and a piece of iron and meld them together and make an actual sword, and not just a stick with a piece of iron glued to the tip. Like,
okay.
I mean, we do know now that you can glue a shield to a stick and make.
So yeah, that shield stick is
cool.
great. But like, it's what I mean. Like, it's like I don't want to have to be like running through the game and like every 5 seconds. If my swords are gonna break every 5 seconds, then at least like the ability to just make a sword on the fly without needing like again, not just like here's a log with a rock glued to it. Like that is not fun to me, you know, like, or it's not interesting to me, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the club is great when you start playing Dark Souls, but eventually people want to move on from the club and get a real sword.
No, it's only the club from now on. Only
From
well,
what
if you
I've
want to go unga bunga through the whole game, I mean that's a viable option.
From what I've seen in the gameplay trailers and even from this trailer is that they want you to explore. That seems to be the biggest gameplay
exploration
mechanic, I guess. That's what they want. I don't know about dungeons, how that would fit in, because it's in a way they want you to be able to play it however you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dungeons kind of have to be played in an order to work.
I see that's something I don't know if that is necessarily true, just because like we've already had an example of that within the Zelda franchise with A Link Between Worlds.
True.
That sort of gave you this ability to have freeform dungeons. However, like I said in my article, that would require like not only like something akin to like the traditional items or something like an overhaul of the item system where it sort of gives you this ability to approach dungeons in whichever way, but still allow those dungeons to be creative and accessible.
But those games were designed with like the gameplay loop being go to dungeon, complete it, move on
in that order.
Yeah, exactly.
But like even in the first game, like you go to the divine beast in any order, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. You could bypass it completely if you wanted to.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like it's like if it's not like there's no, to me, like I think like there really isn't a reason why you couldn't still have the concept of freedom and being able to approach whichever dungeon in whichever order and not have to sacrifice that level of creativity. Like if you include something like A Link Between Worlds where it's just like, you can go to a store, get an item that you need for that, like they put a sign out front that says you need this item to get in here, you go get it and then go do it like in whichever order you want to do, or like without needing those items because you still sort of have like the runes that you need for exploration, you can design like intricate dungeons around that and still be like, okay, if you want to go to this one first, you can. If you want to go to here, you can. Like, True. But they all can be unique in their own way, right? As long as you still have the same like necessary functions that like Breath of the Wild, you'll probably get at the start of the game, right? Like, then there's no reason why that there couldn't be like that level of creativity and still that level of freedom, right?
Yeah, I still feel like we've hardly seen anything out of this game yet. Like even with this review,
I agree.
This is the most we've seen of it. So like it's really hard to say what is or isn't hiding behind the actual game itself. Like no, I'm still convinced anything could happen with this game. Basically, like
dude, I'm right there with you on that. Like like they've given me enough to be hopeful, but like enough or like not enough that I'm still like looking to be surprised. And I think they will, because even just like the bits of the overworld that they showed, it almost looked to in some of the scenes that like the divine beasts are just like gone.
I was getting Twilight Princess vibes.
I was too, actually. Yeah. Even that thing that was talking to Zelda looked very like Twilight Princess character.
Even from the music playing at certain points, the colors surrounding Ganon, it was all very like ripped out of that game.
And that what tribe that was mentioned in Breath of the Wild that didn't actually show up. Like
there was the Yigas? No.
Zonai or something.
I'm not sure. I don't remember that, to be honest.
I saw something recently.
The only ones I genuinely remember being there, but like not really being there, were the Yiga clan.
I'm so bumpy with like Zelda lore because like Brandon, I haven't really finished many of them. I've played all of them, but just for like from when I was a kid with Link's Awakening, that was like my go-to Game Boy game for a long time, and I could never get past the second dungeon. I just rolled around the world, beating stuff up with my sword. So that's kind of just become my norm for Zelda, just not finishing. So I'm really definitely like all the stuff.
I'm definitely with you there, Chris. I love the worlds that these games build. I can't seem to like go on the linear journey to get them done. I loved experiencing every one of these games. I just can't be like, I'm going to play this game for 90 hours and just do the story. I like wander off. I'm just going to go through this one dungeon and beat everything. And I don't think I'm the right audience for the games, probably because of the age or whatever it is. But I love what the worlds these games build, though. I love how much attention Nintendo puts into every one of these games. I just wish it clicked better with me.
What do you guys think of the voice acting?
It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
I hated it.
He's officially confirmed that now. Like I'm totally sold on that.
I definitely think
I still don't.
Yeah, I definitely think I'll be playing it in Japanese just because like even going back to Breath of the Wild, like the cutscenes are, I don't know, just genuinely better if you watch them in Japanese.
I mean,
I could have gone my whole life without having voice acting in Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
The dialogue's too corny.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's kind of a dumb story, but that's
It
okay.
is.
It's cool. As soon as you add dialogue, you're like, oh, wow, this is stupid. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to hear people say the things.
No.
I want to read it.
Sound dorky.
That being said, like again, Ganondorf's writing is like that. He's the two sentences or whatever. Like, don't look away. This is the return of a king or whatever. Like that line.
Yeah.
Like that's okay. Now give me more of that in a Zelda.
Yeah.
See,
the rest of it was typical.
And that was really like made me very happy to see, because again, like two of the other things I put in my list were more enemy variety and not just like in the basic monsters, which they did show quite a bit. I even missed it from the second major trailer that they showed, that like Redeads actually showed up in like this, like in like when you see all the like the monsters coming back to life, they actually show like a lot more. But then yeah, I like seeing actual boss monsters. Oh my god, seeing Gleeok come back too, like that made me so freaking happy. Gleeok was the big three-headed dragon from the original Zelda that's back in this one now. That big like ice bird thing. So and see, that's what kind of like almost too kind of made me think that maybe there will be a return to traditional dungeons, because it's like those kinds of like big monsters need to sort of be like reserved, I think, for like the end of a dungeon, as opposed to just like finding them out in the wild somewhere. It just doesn't seem like those are the kinds of things that'll just be out there. And then again, like one of my biggest bugbears with Zelda since Skyward Sword has sort of been the treatment of Ganon. So like seeing him now, like well, because in Skyward Sword, they kind of buried the lead on Ganon for the entire game until like the literal last second. And they don't even call him Ganon. They just call him this like the demise, which to me is the shittiest. Like they couldn't, they initially wrote down Mr. Bad Guy and were like scratched it out. Like, no, it's too trivial. We got to come up with something just like 10% better.
Jordan, I'm going to throw it out there. Mr. Bad Guy is the best.
You imagine?
Isn't that a Freddie Mercury song?
Mr. Bad Guy.
Mr. Bad Guy. Yeah.
Or the Guilty Gear character Saul Bad Guy.
I would have loved
it.
It'd
be great if voice acted, everyone just kept calling him Mr. Bad
Guy. Evil McDarkness. Like that's on par with like Darth Sidious. Like it's like,
yeah, that is also stupid.
I'm super trustworthy. Said Darth Sidious. like
it's Calamity, Mr. Bad Guy.
Yeah. And so my problem with that was like, again, like you could see how like with Skyward Sword, because they had to try to like retcon a whole bunch of stuff and make it like the start of the timeline, they reduced Ganon, who like was like just the king of the Moblins. He was just a bad guy from a bad place, and they turned him into a concept. And that sort of follows through in Breath of the Wild. Like they do kind of refer to him as Ganon, but he's never really like, they never say like, this is Ganon, king of the Moblins. He's the calamity Ganon, like, and even like Cody said, when he actually manifests, in the dungeons and at the end of the game, he's just this like homogenous nothing that doesn't really like reflect the character that he actually is. And it always really bothered me because even in Skyward Sword and now here, it's like Link gets to be Link, the hero of time, the hero of Hyrule. Zelda gets to be Zelda, but you're going to take the titular, like the iconic villain of the series and boil him down to like a sort of a nothing concept. Like it just always felt very insulting to me, to the character. Like you wouldn't do that in what?
I mean, the new design kind of makes him look like a bad English villain from like.
Well, but he still looks like Ganon. He has like Ganon's kind of face, his beard, his like hair. Like he does look,
that weird
and not
Lincoln beard is going on. Yeah,
they are at least treating him as like Ganondorf Dragmire, like the great king of evil.
I think Ganondorf was when he was a pig person.
No, Ganon
Ganondorf is
yeah.
Okay.
Ganondorf Dragmire is
when
his
he's
full name human.
But when he's like Ganon, he's the pig.
Yeah, that's when he's in his like King of the Moblins. Because the Moblins too, Moblins are supposed to look like pig men. That's why in Breath of the Wild, it kind of bugged me that the Moblins don't really look like Moblins. The Bokoblins look more like Moblins. But anyway,
I don't. That's totally fine.
This is all gibberish now.
No, I can see why it's kind of frustrating to not have Ganon be fully materialized all the time. Though I personally kind of like the experimentation with it.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it kind of
like,
otherwise it gets kind of stale, right?
So, well, because see, like this, I guess like where I kind of differ in that line of thinking was with how they did it in Twilight Princess, because like when they introduced like Zant as a villain, like they make him like genuinely threatening. He's a really good villain, and then sort of like towards like the third act of the game, like middle to third act, you kind of find out that it was Ganon manipulating him the whole time. It was like he was pulling the strings all along. So they found a really good way to like have a good villain, but then reintroduce like the actual villain of the series in a meaningful way.
Right.
Sort of the same thing with Wind Waker too. Like when Wind Waker, like when
Ganon all over that
showed
when
up,
it happened though. I remember the discourse.
I mean, it was real dumb.
Oh, Ganon's back again. They can't just have an original character.
I
like
that.
to the Zelda critiques where it's like the hype gets real, and then the game comes out, and they're like, shit on that, and then it gets remastered, and they're like, oh, it's great again.
Oh, yeah, it's the best one. I'm like, no, this isn't
20 years
I remember
pass.
getting bullied for liking this. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's like I actually agree with what you're saying, Chris, but like I think that's like my point is either if you're gonna have like Ganon, if you're gonna have the bad guy, then just have the bad guy. Like don't like try to like reduce him down to something that's like, oh no, he's here, but he's not really. He's just like this thing that sort of shows up from time to time, and maybe it's him, but maybe it's not. Like I was about to say, you wouldn't see Mario doing that with Bowser. You know what I mean? Bowser is just Bowser. He's never just like a concept. And the games that were like he's not the villain, it's like they have a villain and they find other like fun stuff for Bowser to do, right?
I think it's Mario's lore is a little less serious than Zelda's lore.
100%.
No.
But Bowser is like that like iconic villain. You wouldn't like just sort of like reduce him down to something that's like, no, it was never Bowser. It was always like he was the great, Shellening or something.
Why do we need to have Ganon in this game though? Why can't there be another
Zelda game?
Yeah, it's Zelda.
It could be anything. It's Zelda. It could be a big dragon person thing. Like
Cody, you just don't get it.
Yes, I do. I do get it. All right. It could be whatever.
Personally, like I love Ganon's design so far for this because it's like you come off of that Calamity thing. And now he's back in this form, and like, there's a lot of questions that come with that. And just tying back, like, and again, to how little we know about the actual context and story of this thing. We still don't know what the hell's going on with Link's arm, with the corruption stuff, and also like that, like in his official art, he's doing that like Kamehameha type blast thing out of his arm. Like, what's that all about? We have no idea.
We'll find out in a few short weeks.
Very soon.
Yeah, very soon. Yeah, and the Master Sword too, right? The Master Sword got shattered into glass too. So
there's all that talk about how important his sword is too with the trailer. So
yeah,
it's got to be something there.
Well,
Even though you
the
could
coolest
kill him
moment for
without
me
the
in that
sword
trailer,
before.
though.
that was genuinely the last thing that I put in my list that I wanted was for the Master Sword not to be restricted by the same like rules as the rest of the weapons, because that genuinely, like, my heart sank when that happened in Breath of the Wild. You get the sword, the Master Sword, the Sword of Evil's Bane, this iconic thing from Link to the Past onward. You hit a guy a couple of times and then you have to wait 10 real life minutes for it to like recharge its batteries. And I was like, why can't I use this? This is the one.
Well,
Game balance.
you can only
Game balance.
whack things so much with a hunk of metal before it runs out of batteries.
before it runs out of batteries, exactly.
Yeah, you're not thinking about this with a physics mind.
No, you know what? You're right. That's why this game better have let you have to carry extra batteries.
Everyone
Have
knows.
extra
You're gonna
sword
find the
battery.
wall outlet to plug into.
Jordan, everyone knows in medieval combat, the knights have to stop every once in a while
Yeah.
to like let their swords recharge, then go back at it. Like
Dark
Souls is
it's-
actually unrealistic.
I always
The fact
keep
that
that
it
in
lets
mind.
you do it.
Now that you mentioned it, I actually did see some blogs online that did say how unrealistic Dark Souls was because of this very thing.
You need to get your solar battery out, charge it.
Charge it up.
That's why it worked in Skyward Sword, because you were constantly holding it up to the sun to fill it up with energy.
You were getting your cell reception.
You were charging the battery constantly.
Basically, how does swords
Connect
work
to
in your world, Jordan?
Facebook.
Do swords just work via using them?
Yeah, no. Well, you know what? Now that you say it out loud and I am hearing it, it's how
You're just silly.
I was.
Yeah. You know
But
what's interesting though?
What?
Like when you think about the two trailers today and the two franchises in question with Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy,
Right.
you have like they're two of the most storied video game franchises of all time.
They
and just
are
two different approaches in how they're revealing their games. Where Final Fantasy, I feel like I know everything about this game. I don't even need to play it anymore.
Yeah, literally, like, here's every system in the game. Here's a trailer for the villain. Here's a trailer for the hero.
Yeah, we spent like half an hour talking about Legend of Zelda being like, do you think they're going to have dungeons in this one?
Final Fantasy, it's not as...
I know, yeah.
They're gonna.
Final Fantasy is a game that's going to spawn 3 decades of a man's life.
I kind of think that they're in both cases they're really holding the cards to the chest. As much as they said about Final Fantasy 16, they've really been holding a lot back. Like there's a lot more below the surface, like below the gameplay system.
I mean, of course. I mean, the Final Fantasy games are always incredibly deep with the systems and the many elements and the story beats that just go beyond, also go bonkers, but that's fine too.
Yeah.
Like a flying car. We all needed flying cars.
Why not?
Right.
Why not?
But I think they're giving enough to make it so people are like, yeah, I want to try. I want to experience what this game has.
I think what's interesting about that too is that you can kind of see the two sort of like opposite ends of the spectrums that these games land like as games, because like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, sorry, as a sequel to Breath of the Wild, like from more or less everything we've seen, it looks like it hasn't changed a lot. So it's a lot sort like, despite its depth, it still is a very approachable, very simplistic kind of game that you can kind of very easily dive into.
Yeah.
Whereas like Final Fantasy has layers upon layers, not like RPG, like open world quests, like the skill system,
weird shopping systems.
The lore keepers, like the intricate depths of lore and how characters connect to each other, and then like the combat too, like the combat being so like crazy and intense and looking very much like Devil May Cry, if we're being honest. Like
there's Devil May Cry like alumni on the project. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why Sorry, go ahead, Cody.
I was gonna say they spent a lot of time talking about how they're trying to make it more accessible, though.
Too. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like it's like I feel like they showed so much to be like, we have this crazy, like intricate, like triple stacked Rubik's Cube of a game. Here's everything you're going to need to know to be able to jump into it. And even without knowing this, you can still jump into it like easily and have a good time.
Yeah, I like that there's no like bullshit attached to it. There's no like movie I need to watch beforehand. There's
I
mean,
no extra
Cody,
games
Cody,
to
comic you need to read about
follow.
it.
There's 100% going to be something.
Oh,
You think?
afterwards, but like they're hyping
his
this
life.
as being a self-contained story, at least for now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
maybe
can
it's
go
taking
into this
inciting incident
game.
of the game into a separate CG movie. That's totally
Yeah,
different.
that's
Yeah.
different. I can go into this game and just go.
That we
What
need
was-
the
what-
the anime
Mind
movie
you,
where they
I wasn't upset with how they handled it with Final Fantasy 15, but I'm not
mean,
gonna lie,
it was
this
too
is
much.
kind of
There was a
this is nice.
CGI
It's
movie.
detrimental,
There
for
was
sure.
there was an anime thing, like a series
was,
of anime
yeah.
shorts.
wasn't there
there
also
was
an
a
anime
comic
on Netflix?
No,
Mm,
maybe.
Wasn't there like a Netflix
I think
exclusive
so.
anime
I think there
thing, like the CG anime?
might have been something
No,
else.
there's a
related.
movie. There was a
Maybe.
movie.
Yeah.
there was a movie, yeah, for sure.
Which,
But this
which
is
was like
just-
before.
King's Glaive,
It
yeah.
it went all over the place. There was a lot.
It's just nice that it's
Yeah.
its own thing. There's no bullshit attached. It's just Final
Yeah.
Fantasy. There's no cars.
I mean,
It's nice.
I do like that it went back to like the medieval fantasy setting. I liked the sort of like modern fantasy aesthetic.
I like the fact
It ran its course.
that it was basically just a bunch. It was like a K-pop group or a J-pop group,
Yeah.
just driving around in a
Road
car
trip with the
and killing
boys.
demons and things. It was fine.
Yeah,
It made no sense.
Just guys.
it was
Stop.
awesome.
They
Camping,
made
having
food and
intricate
everyone was
dinners.
great.
That game ruled. Like that game
That
was
game was
really
really cool.
fun. I
the
liked it
first
a
half.
lot, but this is
I mean, that game
more
was
of a game than an
bonkers.
experience like 15
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, it's
15 was bonkers.
it's night and day, really. Like it's so much more solidified and like again,
Yeah.
holding the cards to the chest. I don't feel like I know half the game already just from all the
Yeah.
coverage because there was a while there with 15 where they're like, and here's exactly how this works, and the game is still 4 years out.
Yeah.
Cart before the horse, like
Yeah.
yeah, no, to come back to all the accessibility stuff. There wasn't a lot that they've been saying in today's preview that they haven't already said, like
Yeah.
at their PAX panel a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
they've really been making a big point of like, we know that this is normally a turn-based system or a turn-based
Mhm.
series, like at least in the main games. We acknowledge that a lot of people don't necessarily love action games that are used to Final Fantasy. So here's how we're doing it. I really think that that accessory thing is a good compromise for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like even if it's just like, oh, like I want to grind for a little bit, but I don't want to like mess around with it. Like I can see myself turning those features on, getting through a few battles, turning them back off, and continuing the story. Right? Like it's
Right.
seems like a
Well,
really
it's-
nice compromise because I've seen a lot of people that are like, I don't play these games, but I love Final Fantasy. So what am I supposed to do with an action game? Well, they got you covered. It sounds like.
I mean, I'm
Play
sure we're
Dragon
gonna
Quest.
see. I'm sure we're gonna see the discourse in the next coming days about like easy mode in games and how this is all
Right.
bullshit. And if you're a filthy casual, you shouldn't be playing Final Fantasy 16. But like realistically, like this kind of stuff only enhances the experience because like not only like Chris said, like if you just kind of want to grind for a little bit and you want to just like make these processes that would be long and tedious
Yeah.
easier for yourself, you have the option underline to do it. And like other players,
No,
like the way that
Jordan,
they have
how dare
dare games have options?
Yeah,
How dare
no.
games be
It has to
accessible?
work.
Everything
one
has to be
way-
max difficulty.
Yeah.
Everything
at
has
all
to be Dark
times.
Souls. But
I'm
like,
so
like,
tired
Dark
all
Souls,
the
like,
time
Strangers
from
in
the
Paradise.
discourse.
So Stranger of Paradise last year came out and they're like, yeah, it's a Dark Souls inspired spin-off for Final Fantasy, but it's
Yeah.
got like an easy mode in it. And that worked for the whole core game, but then the story continued to the DLC, and that was all hard mode gated.
Mhm.
So it's like it's good after that whole debacle to see the series kind of course correcting and be like, yeah, we
Yeah.
need to make this accessible all the way through.
well, it's what I mean, like, and
yeah.
it's they're very simple things that you can have in the game. Like again, like even if you like compare this to like a Dark Souls, if Dark Souls had like items you could equip that like made like gave you a better like dodge window or like
Yeah.
just made things a little easier, whatever. Like there's really no detriment to the gameplay to have that. Even if the combat is challenging, like you have the option to use it or you don't. Like
I would have loved that in Elden Ring, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I've always of two minds. I've always been someone like when I found cheat code to a game, I'd use it. Then I'm like, I'm bored of this game now. So I think there is like it is a valuable thing to have like a similar experience, but finding ways to scaffold that experience, so someone that might need hearing impaired, visually impaired, etc., to get that experience is important. Just making like straight up easy mode, I don't think solves the problem. I think finding ways to give the experience that someone that has color blindness, whatever, can experience the same game that someone that does not have those issues is important. And I think that the discourse of how dare they try to change the game so it only is playable by this select group of people is missing the point of like making
It's
games
elitist
for everyone.
Yeah, like I've even seen a take that putting these things in the game is condescending. They're like, oh, like you guys are babies, you can't play action games. No, this is like you said, it's great for like
No.
the physical accessibility, not alone like just people like who aren't used to the reflexes of an action game. Like this
Yeah.
is this is going to be great for a lot of people.
kind of like what Brendan was saying, like, or like to sort of like I guess like add to what Brendan was saying, like there's a certain argument to be made. I think that like games like Elden Ring, like the Souls series, like they are specifically designed with a certain difficulty in mind, but like even other types of games like Devil May Cry or like other like action games, Halo for example too. Halo,
Bayonetta.
like when you like yeah, exactly. Like they have different difficulty levels that just sort of like adjust things in ways that like are small enough that you don't really notice like a massive change in the gameplay. That like if you wanted to play on normal mode versus someone who wants to play on easy mode, like the core game still functions, but like then like and then that gives players like the ability to like get a bit better and find their footing. Like when I I know saying talking about Halo, right? Like when I started playing Halo, I played it on normal difficulty, and then like sort of like subsequent Halos, I started moving up to heroic because heroic genuinely felt like the way the game was supposed to be played. Like legendary still feels like it's kind of just like impossible mode. Like it does take you forever to get through a level, but like so like that's what I mean. Like certain games too, like they have like a normal mode, but it's not like doesn't feel like that's the way the game is meant to be played. Right?
I think the answer is
just give people options. Just have options.
Give people options. Give people options and make it so.
Nothing wrong
it's a video game. It doesn't need to be a goddamn
Yeah.
controversy. It's not serious, guys.
Cody, did you not know you could put "I beat Dark
You're
Souls" on
riding
your resume?
a goddamn chicken on a beach. It doesn't matter.
I mean,
you will see how many jobs you could get if you just put "I beat Dark Souls" on your resume.
I know, it does.
I beat Demon Souls and whatever.
With no armor, and that's just like and the starting club
on a DDR pad.
Yeah.
The answer is, who cares what someone else does in a game? Does it affect you? If not, who cares? No. If they have a colorblind mode, if they have even if they have just a straight up easy mode, who cares? Is it affecting you? If no, who cares?
I remember people getting mad too, and I think I was like among them too. And like looking back at what a piece of shit I was. Oh yeah, no, I was the worst. Like no, like about how like 3D World and like other like Mario games gave you the white Tanuki suit if you died like 5 times consecutively in a level. And I was like, this is stupid. This is baby mode. They want us to like whatever happened to getting good at video games. I didn't have this in Mario 3. And it's just again,
I
would
have loved to have that Mario 3 when I was a kid.
Too, yeah.
But looking back on it, I was such an asshole because it's like no one put a fucking gun to my head and made me use the Tanuki suit. Like I could still play the game. Like so what was I even getting mad about?
Because you died 10 times.
What was I even getting mad about?
I think the answer is, it's one way to gatekeep a community, and everyone likes to feel the fact that like, oh, only people that did these things can be part of this community, because as when people were younger, whatever reason, that was the thing that made them special. So they don't want to have that one thing taken away. That being said, if you beat Dark Souls without the easy mode, good on you. You did it.
Who cares?
That other person
didn't. That sounds like an unpleasant time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, you played the same game, but you had a more visible experience playing it.
Yeah,
monumentally more fun than I did.
It's a novel way of solving the whole workaround. I think with the tiny accessories thing, because like especially with RPGs, difficulty is hard to kind of scale. Like I'm thinking of the Shin Megami Tensei 3 remaster when I played that, it just felt artificial. It's just like
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
thing is there's a
Yeah.
whole loop. It's very dependent on like having the money to heal yourself after battles.
Yep.
In hard mode, just makes it so you have less money to do that, and it just throws the whole system off. It's totally artificial.
And,
Yep.
This at
and
least feels more authentic and like effective.
especially in RPGs too. Like, I've always like go like people like kind of talk about like older RPGs. You can kind of see it's even like
Yeah.
even like pacing wise, it like doesn't work because it's like every sort of area you're in has like sort of like a max level that enemies kind of like approach you from. So it's just like you're climbing up, and it's like once you hit that max level and you're stronger than all the enemies, it just like pans out, and then you get to the next area and it climbs a little bit, then it pans out, so you're like higher than the. So all you're doing is just like is
Scaffolding.
climbing and stop. Yeah, exactly. It's just
Or
and it's just like that doesn't make a
difficulty
game.
spikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a game fun or like challenging. It just means
I-
that you have the patience to sit there and grind for 6 hours.
And I think a lot of these things come from way games are designed. Like
Mhm.
we've changed how we view gaming. It isn't no longer just you have this one game and it needs to be the one game you play forever. There's so many different games out there. You have to make it so someone that might be working at a regular job can play a game.
Yeah.
You can't
But-
expect someone that has a day job to be like, I'm going to play 90 hours, every minute I'm awake when I'm not working or
It's
dealing
so
with a family to play
intimidating.
this one game. Yeah.
I think it also does speak to like design sensibilities even
Yeah.
from Square a bit and moving into like Final Fantasy, because like just again like watching the combat from this play out, like it does, as much as it does look very much like Devil May Cry, it also does kind of look like they took the best parts of the 7 remake and and fleshed it out and made it a little bit more like fast paced and
I mean,
and action focused.
it's as if they built up the things they built before.
That although that being said, like it was a little discouraging to me to kind of like really like get the note that like you control the one character throughout the game, because I actually really did like how 7 approached its combat with that mixture of action and a little bit of like turn-based strategy in there, like managing the other characters, even switching between them for like necessary fights. So like there was a good bridging of that gap, and then like you go back and look at games even like Kingdom Hearts, like the first Kingdom Hearts, the combat in that game sucks. Just because of how it was designed, like trying, you could see it was that early attempt to bridge that gap between having like a turn-based RPG system and like real-time action combat, and just like trying to navigate menus as you're fighting, like it just sucks so bad.
Yeah, things don't age well sometimes.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's come a really long way. So now it really is that like that good merge. Like you can make an action game that still like feels like an RPG, like like, and not necessarily like an action RPG, but something that's more fleshed out in one direction while still incorporating and paying homage to the roots from where it came.
Right.
Yeah, Final Fantasy's kind of gone this way too through the other main series games, because you had even in 12 and 13 you had like a lead character, especially in 13 you had the lead, and if they died the whole battle was over. It's kind of trended that way. So like it's not really like I'm kind of just accepted at this point. As much as I love 7 Remix combat, the switching, I'm really excited just to kind of focus on one guy again.
No, absolutely.
They were. Oh, sorry.
How
They-
do you talk at the same time?
Oh, sorry. They were. Like I said, though, they were pushing for a game that's more accessible. So
Only
making the
managing-
gameplay focus on one person, only managing one person, makes it a lot easier for someone new to the series.
100%. 100%.
It's
Plus
the smart thing to
so much
do.
customization too, like even just in his abilities and stuff. Like you can you can build things fairly intricately for a Final Fantasy game. Like you don't usually have this much control unless it's like the job system games.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of variety in there as well.
Yeah, and again, like it's not like it's a good thing too, because like like we were kind of like, as we've been like talking about like design and stuff too, it's not like those kinds of RPGs from Square Enix have gone away, right? We still have Bravely Default, we
How
still
dare you
have
suggest something?
Octopath Traveler, like like, so it's not like exactly like we're not still going to get like good quality turn-based RPGs that are like intricately designed and like elevate the genre in small ways. Like
It's tough, right? Because like I still love turn-based combat, but I know it's a hard
Me
too.
sell in the modern climate.
Yeah.
Like, how do you sell that to like the TikTok generation, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
I mean,
and not even I don't even think necessarily it's just that too. Like even like
no,
kind
not
of like
only that.
like
Yeah.
kind of like what you were saying, Chris. Like it's This is Final Fantasy 16. Like you know, you really need to keep finding new ways to innovate the franchise. Otherwise, it's just gonna completely die out. And then it's just like, you know, like we're all just gonna be rolling our eyes like, oh, here we go, another turn-based Final Fantasy game, another thing.
It
Like
kind of feels like this is their attempt at type. Oh, hi everybody.
hello.
Everyone disappeared and then reappeared. It seemed like this is their attempt at kind of doing their Breath of the Wild, where it's like this is our ground zero, maybe better term than that. This is our starting point that we can
Square one.
our square one. Thank you. Sorry. I'm very tired. This is well past my normal bedtime.
that's totally
Yeah,
fine.
This is our square one, and this is where we can build off of. This is where we can like hook
You might
new
say
fans.
it's the
We
Square
can ditch our old.
Enix.
There we
No.
go.
No, did that not
You
work?
may not say that.
No,
Uh,
no.
yeah, no, like
Hate to.
it's or to kind of come back to the point about Bowser earlier on. Like, Bowser's always the same, and that works for Mario because it's a more simplistic series.
Mhm.
If like the likes of Final Fantasy and Zelda kind of got into that rut, it's two series that have always been about reinventing themselves,
Yeah.
like since their very first sequels. I don't think it would work out as well. Like I still love that these two series are willing to take these chances, even with these big names like on the line,
Yeah.
and really shake up that mold. So I'm totally over the moon for this one.
I'm
excited to
the
see what
whole
it
thing.
does.
Like,
I just when I was watching this trailer, I just couldn't help but think like I remember being a kid and seeing like the posters for Final Fantasy VII in like in EB Games or whatever, and then actually seeing the gameplay and being a little bit disappointed. But then like what is this? But like
that guy's got blocks for arms.
It's amazing to actually see a Final Fantasy game that looks like how they advertised it back on the PS1.
And like like to that sort of point, I think like there was sort of a similar feeling I had like seeing this as like a game that is really specifically for the PS5, like like how much they're and that's another thing that makes me excited for too, just because like you know, my PS5 library so far has been somewhat limited. I'm like a little disappointed that God of War didn't utilize the controller as much, but then again, they also made it for PS4, so I guess so. So like without having played something like Ratchet and Clank, like this is a game that's being made specifically for the PS5. Like it's not going to PS4. So I'm very interested to see how much they utilize not just the technology of the system, but also like how much the controller can do.
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of like haptic feedback and stuff like that, like aside of like cinematics. Like I don't really see it factoring into like the horizon effect of pulling your arrows back and all that. But I think it really is going to show what the hard work and like produce do. Like in previous interviews, Yoshida was saying that they had to work with Sony at times to figure out how do we do this, how to make this work with the system. I'm so happy that they've gone back to single system development because it looks like it's going to pay off big time.
Oh yeah, and it's good. It's good. Well, I mean, I guess it's good for Sony because this really does feel like with everything that we've talked about, like its approachability, its like style, its tone. Like this kind of does feel like the one where it's like you need to get a PS5 for this. Like this is the reason you buy a PS5.
Like it looks truly next gen. Like
it looks stunning.
It's not just a gimmick. It's just considering multi-platform development right now includes working for the Series S. Like there's a huge gate.
It's so weird.
Yeah. I think I just
that's my fault. I'm sorry, guys.
Damn it all,
Cody.
That's my next gen console.
We
I'm in the future, guys.
Half step into the future.
Well, and it's funny because I think I saw like an article or like it was basically saying like people are or just like gamers, I mean, to whatever degree that opinion is valid, like are worried that
Ever.
that the Series S is going to kind of like shoot, Final Fantasy 6 or 16 in the foot kind of thing, like how much they're going to have to like kind of dial back for it. Granted, I don't necessarily think that really is gonna matter, because like they said, they were working like with Sony on this one, so like the PS5 version is going to be the PS5 version, but whatever they get
for a lot longer than most other PlayStation exclusives, I think. Like it doesn't sound like they've even thought about the PC version too much yet. Like, and that's not even the Xbox version would be even farther off, because the market's just not there in Japan for an Xbox.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, you gotta put money where they can.
That there was plans for an Xbox version.
There is no plans, exactly. Yeah, people were assuming that there was going to be a PC version, because the trailer says, fine print says, the exclusive on PlayStation for 6 months or whatever. Yeah, but that's just the legal side of it. The technical side is they haven't even thought about it, really.
Yeah, and it really does come down to just the fact that, like, I think since 15, Final Fantasy kind of has been a multi-platform
13
game now. Or was it 13? Oh yeah, it was 13. You're
where
right.
it started, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
That's my tinfoil hat conspiracies. That's part of what's gone on with the series since then, is that they've been spreading themselves thin, where it used to be like a single platform thing.
Yeah.
Every game prior to that was a single platform. They developed for Nintendo, they developed for Sony. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Like, multi-platform is great, but sometimes there's benefits to being only on one thing. Like, you get to work specifically with this one piece of hardware and get everything out of it that you can. So we'll see what that gets us in June. Yeah, no. Like, coming back to like talking about seeing Final Fantasy marketed, like this is the first time since the internet generation really started, like since like 10, that I've been this excited for Final Fantasy. I'm always excited for new Final Fantasy. 12, 13, played them, loved them. 15 too, even. But I haven't felt this like excited and this confident about a Final Fantasy since like that era.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, I might not. Another series that I will probably never finish a game in, other than like 1 and 2. But excited to see what happens either way.
I think 7 was the only one I actually.
Well, like I said, I beat 7 too. I think I beat 7 as well.
And it's like I'm almost like a reverse Chris, because like I remember playing 10, not loving it, but still like liking it enough that I kind of stayed with it for a little while, and then like I hated 13. I wasn't a big fan of 12. Like, I think I've recently was like replaying it on the Switch with the what's the Zodiac Age, which I heard was like a massive improvement over the original release.
I'd say I agree with that. Yeah.
And so like I'm kind of coming around on it, but when I first played it, I was like, what the frig is this? And then it wasn't until 15 that I was like genuinely brought back into Final Fantasy. Like, I was like, okay, like this is really cool. So now like it's like I was having even 7, because I remember when we had that talk about it, Cody, and I was like very skeptical about the 7 remake.
Yep.
Even like playing the 7 remake, I was like, okay, no, like this actually like exceeded all my expectations. Well, some of them. But that's a different. That's a story for another time. Cough.
For 6 months when they start marketing the second one.
So but like
in a year or two. So
like seeing this one, even like the first trailer for 16, and now seeing all this, like I am like I'm riding in the front of the hype train.
12 is kind of felt like the same hype cycle that Zelda has. We talked about earlier. Like, it has that, it came out and it was not like anything like it before, so everyone hated it. Then when the Zodiac Cage came around, people gave it more of an honest chance. And that was after 13 and 15. Well, around the time 15 was changing everything, so people were like, oh, actually, we were a little hard.
They were marketing them alongside each other.
And hey, I'll fully admit that a part of me not liking 12 probably came from the fact that I am stupid, because like I didn't understand why.
Heard here first, folks.
Dude, no, I'll tell you night and day. I was and am stupid. Like, because I didn't understand why you could move your character around, but the combat was still effectively turn-based. So I was just like, this doesn't make sense, and I was like, just never went back to it.
Deep thoughts.
And now, like, again, like, so it's kind of like you said, like replaying it now, I'm like kind of like, okay, like, no, like kind of see what they were doing. It's sort of action turn-based, but not really. You have to play it with more turn-based sensibilities. And it, like, once you kind of get past that, it is actually a pretty solid game. It's really a good story too.
Nice.
Well, yeah, deep thoughts. That's what we're all about here at CGMag. But I think that's all of our deep thoughts.
Don't listen to me.
I mean, you really can't go any higher than Jordan admitting that on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's what we'll do for us this week.
Hey, I'll admit it day and night,
That's
guys.
magical.
I know where I am.
If you'd like to read more on these topics and more, including Jordan's list of things he wanted to see in Tears of the Kingdom, or even Cody's original review of Breath of the Wild, you can find those things on CGMagOnline.com.
Yeah.
That's a callback.
It is.
A
Be sure to
long
follow
time
CG
ago.
Magazine on all the socials. Just search for CG Mag. You'll find us. If you have any questions or comments, you can send them to podcast@cgmagonline.com. Cody, thanks for being on the show again. Great to have you back. Where can people
Thank you
find
for having me. You can find me on Instagram at Classic Cody with ClassiCodyy. I had to look at my phone because I'm like that. And on Twitter at Cody_Orm ORME. Very sporadic in my posting, so
As we all should be in this barren wasteland of social
it's
media.
awful on the internet.
It's real bad out there.
It's a weird place.
Yeah.
Jordan. Nudge. Hey, stupid. Nut.
You're nudging the wrong side.
I-
Also, we're not lined up that way. It doesn't make
I
sense.
know.
It doesn't
Hey.
work.
Or
Hey,
just do
Sure.
the
Oh,
line.
Jordan.
Just say the line.
You can find
Sorry.
me sometimes on Instagram and sometimes on TikTok at NinjaXJordan. And you can find me on YouTube at Ninja Jordan Reviews.
Cool. And you can find me at bfry26 on basically everything. I think I'm still on Twitter. Twitter's a weird place now. I don't know.
It's a dumpster fire.
It's
call it
now
what it
it's
is.
now the Doge dog for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
Because Elon Musk has all the dankest memes, you see.
He
Forward
is
ye chest.
All the
He is
uncredited memes you could ask for.
he's such a
loser. Yeah.
he's just like
It starts
an edge lord with money. And that's fine, I guess.
He's not
But
even an
yeah,
edge lord. He's got no edge.
okay, a meme
a
lord. I
lord.
don't know.
Yeah, he's a meme lord. That's basically what he is.
He played Wario one time on SNL.
He's a 14-year-old Reddit user. Is what he is.
Anyways,
Elon Musk lawyers cannot find me on Twitter at Timothy.
I'm not Cody.
Everything
Yeah.
said here was
Not
parody.
Parody.
What's an
parody.
Elon?
Allegedly.
No experts. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Later.